You know what? Let's talk about it. I did say I'd do it on Saturday, and Saturday is long since past, but let's talk about Mane and Bayern. And the reason I didn't make the video earlier actually is because I didn't feel like it. Like since Saturday, all the rumors, are pointing towards it happening, pointing towards it, being very realistic, so on and so forth. But I just haven't felt like it. If I'm being completely honest, I just haven't felt like it. I just couldn't be bothered. Now, here's the thing. Money to Bayern has a lot of positives and has a lot of negatives. Negatives. Let's start with the negatives. Are you glass half full, glass half empty kind of person? I don't know. I just like the glass. That's what I'm here for. I don't really care if it's glass, if the glass is half full, if the glass is half empty. I just like the glass. And I know I'm pronouncing like glass, glass. No, I just like the glass, right? Although to be fair, I've got a can here, so maybe I don't like the glass. With that said, glass half empty person, right? That looks only at the negatives. I'll tell you what is the negatives with Sadio Mane. One, expensive. Rumors are, German newspapers are saying 30 million. British newspapers are saying the talks are going to start at least at 30 million pounds, whereas Germans are saying 30 million euros. And there's a significant disparity, right? Realistically, I think what's going to happen is 40 million euros is where the two clubs are going to settle. And that's expensive. That's expensive, right? We don't know what our wage budget is. Every year we hear about, not wage, but our transfer budget is, every year you hear about 150, 200, give or take. But us selling is terrible as well. And we've already spent a good chunk of the transfer / wage budget. Those are typically combined. So spending 40 million on Mane is a big chunk. Now here's the second part, and it's kind of like correlates as well. His wage is going to be extremely expensive. Like there are reports. There are reports earlier on that said like 15 million euros, which would it falls right in line with like the likes of Kimmich, Goretzka, that kind of range, that kind of ballpark. And then you see other reports, and those are the recent reports saying 20 million. And that is like at the more expensive, that's at that Neuer, Müller kind of range. Lewandowski, I think, is currently at like 24, I want to say. It always differs, because sometimes you see the report and it says 20 million. That's what it was initially when you first signed this contract extension, years ago. But now everyone's saying it's like 24, so it might be 20 million plus bonuses, which are realistic, achievable bonuses, makes it 24/25. But it's expensive. It's a lot. And what we're offering Sane is a lot too. Apparently we're offering Gnabry about 18 to 19 million, which the likes of Gnabry, apparently we're offering him 18 to 19 million, which puts him right around the Sane and Coman range, where those earn about 17 to 19 as well. So if you care that much about the wage budget, in general, but we do have one of the highest wage budgets in Europe, despite the fact that obviously we don't earn as much, or we don't have as much money as other clubs do. Have a little sponsor daddy, sugar daddy, please give me some money. Ow. We don't quite have that. I could say we have that with Adidas. Ooh. But no, we don't. Moving on. Another negative, and this one is only a negative if. So there's an if attached to it. So another negative. If Gnabry extends, and we sign Sané, there is one less spot for our talented youngsters. And you can name all of them. I couldn't name all of them, but there is less space in the squad for our talented youngsters. And those players, they have the talent. They just need to play to convert that talent into first team football. And I trust all four of them. All three of them, to make an impact. Vidovic, Musiala, of course, but I don't really count him too much anymore. Vanna and Ibrahimovic. At least attacking wise, if you get Mane and Gnabry extends, you've got one less position there. even then, if you get Mane with that kind of wages, you basically guarantee, you basically have to you basically forced to play it. You're not gonna play the youngsters. You know, we saw Nagelsmann with this whole, oh yeah, don't worry, last 3 games I'm gonna play the youngsters. We saw how that panned out. Biggest lie ever told. But I don't think anyone was surprised in the grand scheme of things. So that's a if scenario kind of thing. Next up, I don't know if I'll include this in the negative/positives. Because, alright, you know what? I'll talk about this point at the end separately. It's not really a negative, it's not really a positive. It could be both. You know, depending on where you are on the fence, it could be both. So I'll leave that for now, and I'll move on to I'll move on to the positives. Let's go to the positives. You know, let's be positive here today. You know, we are a positive chap. I'm a positive chap. It's a positive channel. Is it now? But, you know. Is it now? Looks at my recent videos there. Is it now? Ooh. Am I now? Ooh. But anyway, positives. Experienced player. You know what you're getting. Experienced player. And you know what you're getting. Like you know, you've seen him play at Salzburg, at Southampton, and now obviously at Liverpool. You know what you're getting. Like, there's going to be no surprises. He is of an age where, you know, he's kind of expected to perform. He's expected to, like, bring that experience to the forefront, which could help the youngsters as well, of course. But it's not like we don't have players that aren't experienced already, you know, in that sort of position. So that's just that's a bit of, you know, that's a positive. That's a positive experience. It's underrated experience, honestly. Next up, though, another positive. He will bring immediate quality. So instead of like signing a player that down the years could bring us quality, or our youngsters that down the years could, you know, be a first team player, you know what you're getting. You're getting immediate quality. Now, okay, you know what? I'll talk about it here as well. This is a point that I didn't know whether that's a negative or a positive, and I said you could look at it both ways. Inconsistent. He has spells where he's extremely good, and then he has spells where he is extremely poor. And as I said, this could be a good thing and a bad thing, right? I raised the question on Twitter, I think like 2 weeks ago. Could be 2 weeks ago. I'll try and find it right now while I'm recording. Yeah, we were so prepared and everything, but I'm probably not gonna find it. But basically, the question was something along the lines of: would you rather have players that are great all the time but perform, say, a 7 out of 10, or would you rather have players that only shine in certain moments, but when they shine they hit like your 8.5 out of 10, so on and so forth? And a lot of people, now the answers were divided, but a lot of people were on both sides of the fence. Some were saying that they much rather have a, you know, here I found it. I could stop buying time right now. I know these videos are so professional. My goodness. But yeah, I posed a question. Here's a question that you're free to cope with your answers. Would you rather have a player in your team that's an 8.5 every game, or one who's a 7 out of 10 most games, but every 5 games or so plays a 10 out of 10? And as I said, the answers were very divided. And Mane is, I'm gonna have to get used to it. Mane, Sané, who's next? Bayern. Well, nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask. You may have assimilated in the darkness, but I was born in it, molded by it. I hadn't even seen the light until I was a man. By that time, it was nothing but blinding to me. Like, okay, are we going for Bayern next? Oh my goodness. But yeah, you know, basically the point I'm raising is that he could have, like, you know, his 10 out of 10 game in like a very important game, but then basically, you know, be under the radar for most part, or, you know, he could have someone that's a more consistent, so on and so forth. I mean, the same could apply to Gnabry as well. Gnabry has those moments where, like, he just looks like a 10 out of 10, but then a lot of the time he's just under the radar as well. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one where this is both a positive and a negative. It just depends on, you know, when it happens, where you are on the fence, so on and so forth. With that said, though, that is definitely something that needs to be taken into consideration, because people only either remember the good parts of Mane or the bad spells of Mane. So I think both need to be taken into consideration, and, you know, I mean, Liverpool fans will pretty much agree with you. Will pretty much agree with me when I say he's very inconsistent. I think was it this season? I think early this season he was absolutely atrocious, and obviously in the second half of the season he was just explosive. He was Liverpool's main man. So that's kind of what you're getting with him, you know, just that kind of an inconsistency. Overall though, I think we'll just leave it at that. What do I think about the Mane transfer? Now, let's just assume it happens, right? Let's say we spend 40 million and we give him a wage of 20 million. I think it's an awful deal, straight up. Now, if we spend, let's say, 30 million and we get the wages down to, let's say, 15, or I'll be willing to go up to like 17. Okay, fine. Because we've got a wage issue at the moment, which is why we're in this predicament where so many players, they're just like, give me those high wages or I'm out of here. Because, you know, we're giving those high wages. Well, we did give those high wages initially, and now everyone wants it as well. Everyone wants it as well. Lucas Hernandez, when we signed him, 18 million right from the get-go. So all the other players, all the other defenders that we have, you know, they're like, he hasn't even played for you yet. You just signed him, right? You spent 18 million on him. You're giving him 18 million in wages, you know? I want that. I was like, I want that. Now, I want that. He didn't get it. So he was off. We're trying to get our wages under control. My goodness, that... Yo, maybe I should sell. 1 second. I'm just looking... Sorry. I'm looking at something that I bought to trade a stock and just exploded right now. But anyway, that's a different story. Point is... What time is it? Okay, we still got 35 minutes before the market closes. Point is, right... We're trying to get our wages under control, and that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen with a lot of planning, a lot of, you know, careful organization. But it is something that, like, I don't know whether Mane is the right answer. I think short term he's the right answer. I think he's also that kind of name that people can get excited about. But like, we've done a lot of good, in my opinion, good long-term signings this summer already. With a few more departures, we can definitely make a few more long-term signings. Mane, he isn't old. Let's not get that twisted. He's not old. 30s doesn't mean you're everything is downhill from here. That's not what happens, right? As I said before, footballers, they're probably going to play until like their 40s nowadays, because at the end of the day, they take better care of their body. You know, there's a lot of sports science involved now, so on and so forth. Nutritions and so on and so forth is a lot more looked at now. They have their own medical staff and so on and so forth to look after their body their body stats, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of reasons why footballers nowadays can play longer. There is less resale value. That's very much true, but he should, keyword here, should be able to bring a certain level to Bayern off the get-go. The issue is we'll probably overpay. We'll probably overpay, and that is the frustrating part. Because it feels like we've made good signings to get things under control. We're getting rid of players, to get things under control, and then it just seems like we're saying, control? What's control? Let's get rid of that. So it's an odd signing. If the numbers reported, of course, are correct, but it do be like that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'll see all of you in the next one, everyone. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out, and as always,